What's happening with NICKO McBRAIN, and is he okay? Is possibly the most asked questions I see by Iron Maiden fans regarding the Future Past tour.
Welcome, boys and girls, how are you?
And all of those are of course derived from the fact that some fans did pick up that some of the drum parts on the songs on the setlist sound quite different from the way they do on the original studio version, resulting in some conspiracy theorists even believing that NICKO McBRAIN is simply tired of touring with Iron Maiden.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So, first of all, yes, it is true. Some of the drum parts on the first shows of the Future Past tour were simplified by NICKO McBRAIN. And this of course mostly relates to the speedier songs and especially towards the end of the set, resulting for example in the Trooper intro being played something like this. You know, when we all know it is supposed to sound like this. So what's going on? Does that mean that NICKO cannot perform them anymore? Or maybe does it mean that NICKO is simply tired of being a rock star and doesn't really want to go around the world with one of the biggest heavy metal bands on the planet?
I love my job.
Well, I believe neither of those.
Yeah, me too.
First of all, if we're being very honest and very picky, we kinda have to mention that it happened not only to NICKO McBRAIN but to pretty much every band member on the first couple of shows. And even more, something like this actually happens at the beginning of almost every major challenging tour. And not only by Iron Maiden, but by pretty much every major heavy metal band. And yes, it also happened during some of those legendary tours in the 80s.
It cannot be.
In fact, what I believe is going on with NICKO McBRAIN and some of his drum fills is exactly what we discussed in one of the first videos regarding the Future Past tour. When NICKO was on his way to Iron Maiden's first show of the tour in Ljubljana, he actually did mention that he was extremely nervous, possibly even more so than he ever was.
I'm like, you know, more so than I've ever been.
And the truth is that you can actually see from the footage of the first shows that the rest of the boys were experiencing something very similar to what NICKO did. And this of course is very understandable, since the Future Past tour is a challenge Iron Maiden have set in front of themselves, with its setlist being challenging for somebody in their 30s, let alone in their 60s, and in case of NICKO McBRAIN in his 70s.
The life of NICKO McBRAIN for one more year!
And we of course are not the only ones who understand that, and the boys do know it as well. And maybe that's why it does look like they are trying to pace themselves, and possibly even more so than they usually do at the beginning of their new tour, in order to make sure that their performance does not decline, but if it is possible only goes up as the tour progresses. And if we actually take a look at the footage of each of the shows, starting with the first one and up until today, we can see that it might actually be true, as each of the band members adds significantly to their performance with each show, as they are becoming more and more comfortable with the setlist. As let's not forget that the Future Past tour actually features one of the highest amount of songs that the band has never played, or hasn't played for many years, than pretty much any other tour in the band's career. And if we take a look at NICKO's performance of the same song, The Trooper, as the Future Past tour progresses, we can see that it already sounds very different from the versions we heard at the beginning of this run. So no, although of course no one can run from their own age, in my opinion there is nothing to worry about. And if you haven't seen this tour yet but you're planning to do so, there is actually a good chance that by the time you do, the band will leave you absolutely nothing you can even remotely complain about. And one more thing, as a fellow metal pilgrim and my Patreon Samuel Utz pointed out, who by the way was the first person to bring this topic to my attention, for which I'm very, very thankful, NICKO McBRAIN is a unique drummer in the history of music.
Good drummer.
Great look, good drummer,
Good drummer.
As up until today, there was no other drummer in the world of heavy metal could be performing parts even remotely similar to the ones NICKO does every night on a show in his 70s. And the fact that today, when NICKO McBRAIN is 71 years old, he's able to go on a road with an extremely challenging set list and do his job and bless us with this amazing music is just a miracle by itself, for which we Iron Maiden fans are very, very thankful to God for. But anyways, what do you guys personally think about the band's form on this tour? Please let us know in the comments. And as I promised, a long episode on the joint Judas Priest and Iron Maiden tour back from 1980 is coming to you hopefully very, very soon. I just simply cannot finish recording it because of the constant air raid sirens here in Ukraine. But anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching this very short video, guys, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!